Hello friends, this video on Cell Part 11 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now that we have discussed this, let us look at the structure of nucleus. So this is how nucleus looks like. So this is not the entire cell, just the nucleus. As I said, the nucleus is surrounded by a nuclear membrane. So if you see here, this is your entire cell. The entire sphere which you see here, that is the complete cell. Inside the cell, the center of the cell has a spherical structure which is the nucleus. So here this orange ball which you see is the nucleus, and on this nucleus you have a center, and that is the nucleolus. So let us quickly look at the various parts inside the nucleus. So here the thing which you see on the screen is the nucleus. So the first of all is the nuclear membrane. So this outer membrane, so you can see the outermost layer of this ball is the membrane which separates it from other components inside the cell. So this nuclear membrane also has tiny pores on its surface. So here you can see these are the tiny pores, and these pores are called nuclear pores. So if you talk about the nuclear membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. So the membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. You remember, the lipids and proteins also form the cell membrane. So the same things form the nuclear membrane as well. So what is the purpose of nuclear membrane? What does it do? It gives shape to the nucleus. So normally any membrane, any outer layer, it provides shape to the particular entity. Like cell membrane gives shape to the cell. Similarly, nuclear membrane gives shape to the nucleus. And why do we have these nuclear pores? These are small openings on the nuclear membrane. So due to the presence of these openings, the nuclear membrane is not continuous. It is interrupted at intervals by these pores. Now, why do we have these pores? So these pores are there to facilitate the transfer of particles from inside the nucleus to outside, or from outside the nucleus inside. So what kind of particles get exchanged between nucleus and the external environment? Those are proteins and RNA complex. So proteins which are synthesized, they move inside the nucleus. Sometimes RNA complex, they move outside the nucleus. So basically these pores help in the exchange of substances between nucleus and the outer nuclear space. Then the next important structure is nucleoplasm. Like how we have cytoplasm present inside the cell, similarly we have nucleoplasm present inside the nucleus. So what is nucleoplasm? It is a fluid which is present, which fills the entire empty space inside the nucleus. So here you see the yellow colored space inside, that is the nucleoplasm. So in this nucleoplasm are present, all other structures are embedded in this nucleoplasm. So the nucleoplasm is made up of nucleoproteins, nucleic acids, proteins, enzymes, minerals. So all of these constitute the nucleoplasm. Next is the nucleolus. This central structure is the nucleolus. Like it is something like this. You have a cell. Somewhere towards the center of the cell you have the nucleus, and at the center of the nucleus you have the nucleolus. So this is your nucleolus. This one is the nucleus, and this entire thing is the cell. So center of the cell is nucleus, and center of the nucleus is the nucleolus. So nucleolus basically is not a cell organelle, like nucleus is a cell organelle or other parts are cell organelles, but this is not a cell organelle. It is just a dense area which is present inside the nucleoplasm. Now this dense area becomes so noticeable that it has been named as nucleolus. Next important part is chromatin. So what are chromatin? So here you can see chromatin, which are of two types, heterochromatin and euchromatin. So these are nothing but thread-like structures which are present in the nucleoplasm. So these thread-like structures, they are very, very important, because these thread-like structures called chromatin will later become chromosome, and these chromosomes play a very important role during cell division. So these chromatin, earlier the chromatin will be like thread-like structures, but during cell division, these chromatin will get converted into rod-shaped structures called chromosomes, and the chromosomes contain DNA and protein, and DNA is the genetic material. So DNA acts as the genetic material. That means it carries all the genetic information. It is because of this DNA that we look similar to our parents or grandparents. So you can just imagine how important nucleus is, because inside the nucleus you have all these important things. So now let us quickly describe each of the parts in more detail. Whichever part we discussed in the last slide, we will now discuss them in more detail. So let us start with the nuclear membrane. As I said, it is a double layered covering of nucleus. So here in the picture you can very clearly notice the double layered nuclear membrane. See that there are two lines. So these are the two layers of the nuclear membrane. The next thing is the nuclear pores, and as I said, it helps to maintain the shape of nucleus. So it gives proper shape to the nucleus. Next is nuclear pores. So these are pores on the nuclear membrane which allow transfer of materials to outside. So not only outside, some materials get transferred to outside, some materials enter from outside to inside. So what are these materials? These materials could be proteins. So proteins are examples of one such materials which might get exchanged between the nucleus and the outer nuclear space. Next is nucleoplasm. So what is nucleoplasm? It is the fluid which is enclosed by the nuclear membrane. So you can see here nucleoplasm, the fluid which fills the entire empty space inside nucleus. Next is the nucleolus. Now all these structures like the nucleolus or the chromatin, chromosome, so they all remain suspended in the nucleoplasm. So nucleolus is a structure embedded in nucleoplasm. As you can see here, nucleolus is embedded in the fluid. It can be one or many in number. So it is not necessary that one nucleus can have only one nucleolus. One nucleus can also have multiple nucleoli. And what is it made up of? It is made up of protein and RNA. So ribosome formation takes place here. What are ribosomes? Ribosomes are the sites of protein synthesis. So ribosomes are the place where protein synthesis happens. Now why protein synthesis is so important? Now if you look at each and every part of our body, everything at the end of the day is composed of proteins. So proteins are an integral part of our composition. So we are all composed of a lot of proteins. So these proteins need to be synthesized, or they need to be manufactured somewhere. So they are also manufactured inside each and every cell. Where exactly inside the cell? In the ribosomes. So these ribosomes, where protein synthesis happens, these ribosome formation takes place here in the nucleolus. So just imagine how important nucleus is. Inside the nucleus you have the information for inheritance. Inside the nucleus you also have ribosomes which help in protein synthesis. You don't have ribosome inside nucleus. It's like nucleus can generate ribosomes which can later generate proteins. So that is also another very, very important function of nucleus. Now the question is, I mentioned that this nucleolus is not a specific organelle. Instead, it is just an area which is very dense. Now what makes it so dense? So nucleus contain chromatin threads, and these chromatin threads contain the genes. As I said, right, these are the chromatin threads, the green colored thread-like structures which you see, they are the chromatin threads. These chromatin threads later will become chromosomes, and these chromosomes contain the DNA. So now you will learn about the concept of protein synthesis in your senior classes. If you want to really learn about it, you can refer the biology videos of class 12. So there I have discussed about the concept of protein synthesis in more detail. So you will understand. So for now you can just understand that this nucleolus is nothing but a very dense area which contain the protein RNA complex that are being formed. So continuously protein and RNA, they will combine with each other and they will form protein RNA complex. And this area where a lot of protein RNA complexes are formed, that area becomes dense and that area is called nucleolus. Then the next part is the chromatin. So chromatins are nothing but thin thread-like structures which are embedded in the nucleoplasm. As you can see here, these are the chromatin, the green thread-like structures. They are chromatin. Now chromatin, again, they are of two types. One is euchromatin and the other one is heterochromatin. So what is euchromatin? Euchromatin is nothing but the true chromatin. Eu means true. So this chromatin contain genes which can make RNA. So this chromatin has those genes which can form RNA, and from RNA we can synthesize proteins. So that is the normal process of protein synthesis. Now what is DNA, what is RNA, how we create proteins, that will become a little more complex for you at this level. So for that we have to refer class 12 videos. So that is euchromatin. And what is heterochromatin? So in heterochromatin, here the genes are not active. That means genes cannot directly make RNA. So what do? They just have extra copies of genes which are called junk genes. So they contribute towards regulation of protein synthesis. They cannot make RNA, which in turn can make protein synthesis, but they can control the process of protein synthesis. So they just have some dummy genes or junk genes. So that's about euchromatin and heterochromatin. Now chromatin, what is it made up of? It contains DNA, RNA and nuclear proteins. And for most of the animals, DNA is the genetic material. So this chromatin, they exist during the resting stage of a cell. So what do we mean by resting stage? Resting stage is that stage of a cell when the cell is not dividing. So that means the cell is not dividing to form new cells. So then it is called resting stage. So these chromatin will be present only during the resting stage. As soon as the cell starts to divide, so during the dividing stage, the chromatin will get transformed into chromosomes. So now we will talk about chromosomes. So what are these? So these are rod-shaped structures. So these thin structures, so chromatin are like thin structure like this, so thread-like structures. But when you talk about chromosomes, they are rod-shaped structures, somewhat like this. So many chromatin will join together to form such rod-shaped structures. So they are formed when chromatin condense together when the cell is about to divide, and that is when chromosome formation takes place. So now the cell is actually moving from the resting stage to the dividing stage. So here chromosome is made up of DNA and nuclear proteins, and DNA is the hereditary material, so it will contain the genetic information. It also contains information for inheritance, that's what will decide what will be your similarity with your father and what will be your similarity with mother. So because it is through these DNA that those genetic traits come to our body. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.